Hey there, welcome to another episode of Behind the Mask. I am also your friendly host, but I am your host, Sarah Joy, your friendly neighborhood interrogator turned clone, helping you get to know the person who is behind the screen name. Tonight, we're chatting with Velvet. You may know Fair as Anarchy in Flight Risk. Hello, Velvet.
Hello, Sarah,
Yay.
and dark greetings, everyone listening at home. Super stoked to be here.
I'm super stoked to finally get to talk to you on here. This is something I'd mentioned, I think, back in August. What is time?
What is
August.
time? No, I mean, even before you brought it up, like ever since I watched Dwayne on it, I was like, oh, I want to talk to Sarah.
Yeah, Dwayne was super good, but we're gonna be better than that. Sorry, Dwayne. Who was on and
It's gotta
logged
keep putting
off.
this
Yeah,
right. I mean, he knew. He knew. He's gonna
right.
set
He
that bar
did.
higher.
He couldn't take it. It was just so intense. So I love that. Awesome. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh gosh.
I know it's the hardest question.
I right. You'd think I'd have something prepared. I'm a professional other times. I promise. I make a lot of freelance content. I kind of got my start doing more audio geared stuff, audio dramas, actual play podcasts. As of late, I've been mostly doing TTRPG Twitch streams, and beyond that, in kind of my Miss Civilian life, I do some freelance writing and voiceover.
I love it. I love it. So you said something that TTRP?
Yeah, so TTRPG is like the tabletop role playing, and those are basically, I guess, your live action actual play podcast. So instead of just being
Mhm.
pure audio, you have like the streamed visual.
Nice, right, which makes it not a podcast, but a live stream video. I'm saying this very clearly because I keep getting called a podcast by Mark.
Gotta call them
Right?
out.
That's right. That's right. Every time. Awesome. So like you also do some voiceover work, you said. Let's talk about that a little bit. What have you been doing voiceover wise?
Sure. Nothing huge as of late. And typically I've done like small indie stuff. Mostly for like, friends or acquaintances once or twice removed who just needed a quick voice for either, an audio production or something to like supplement a streamed game with.
Hmm. I love that. I love That's awesome. I think that's like how most of us in this podcasting random voiceover subculture. Are we a subculture?
I would say we are.
I think we must be. My goodness, I think that's how we mostly got our start. What actually got you interested into doing voiceovers?
I think I've always wanted to do voiceover because, I mean, I love performance period. I don't know if I can say I'm classically trained, but I've been doing it like live even before voice stuff for like over a decade, so maybe.
Oh my God,
But I was kind of
tell us more.
inspired.
Uh,
I was kind of inspired by it because all the character, growing up as like a child in the '90s, there was so much like cult classic and cornerstone anime and cartoons, and those always stuck with me, especially as I got older and realized that it was like actors doing the voices. Like
mhm.
people will say, oh, Harrison Ford as Han Solo, or oh my gosh, why did I just blank on his name?
Mark Hamill's
Mark
Joker.
Mark Hamill, yeah, Mark Hamill as Joker. Well, that's the thing, right? Like some people will like they have their cornerstone like live action actors, and for me it was always the voiceover folks. It was like no, Mark Hamill as the Joker or Laura Bailey as Jaina Proudmoore, and so I was like, I would love to do that. I
Hmm.
think another thing big, another big thing with me too is just kind of being kind of a trans performer, there's always kind of anxiety and concern about, the mortal coil being a limiting factor in what roles you can take. But that's
Hmm.
not a concern in voice acting. Like I could be an octopus one day and something eerily similar to but legally distinct enough from Dr. Mrs. the Monarch the next day.
I love that so much. I hadn't thought about that before. Being able to transcend the mortal coil through like how genetically we end up presenting ourselves, whether we want to or not, to the world. Like but your voice can be anything. I
Exactly.
love
I
that.
apologize if you
That's
hear the little
funny.
honking noise. My dog has acid reflux.
Oh, buddy. All right,
I
what's your
know.
dog's name?
Her name is Nana.
Hi, Nana. What kind of dog is she?
She's a little Yorkie, but she is 13 years old, so she just sleeps and eats,
Yep, yep. That's a
living the dream.
good baby. Yes, we all need to know that. And eventually we'll just have you drop a picture of your dog in the chat because really that's why everybody's here is to see our dogs.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, it's why I'm here, just spreading the word.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Mine's asleep in the other room because he doesn't like when I talk and I'm like not talking to him. So he's
That's
pouting.
fair. That's fair, though.
Right, right. So you said you got into this 10 years ago. Like, how did you get into this?
So I started acting 10 years ago, like in high school. As far as
Uh-huh,
like
uh-huh.
this subculture that we've now identified, I got into it about 4 years ago. I started like September, October of 2017.
Uh-huh. Story.
And I basic sure. I got into it really kind of randomly and on a whim.
Hmm.
Um, so that was kind of the year I came out, and it was a very isolating year and pretty meh for a bunch of reasons. But towards the end of that, ARP or Y Caliber, who's another kind of creator in this space, basically posted an open call audition for a new actual play podcast they were working on. And I had actually been following him for like a couple of years
Hmm.
because, they did Let's Plays and he also kind of hosted some, actual play podcasts of people doing these TTRPG games. And I
Hmm.
saw that and I was like, well, I'm not normally a lucky person, but, heck, I'll shoot my shot and I'll put it out there. And I somehow got on. And it really just kind of snowballed from there because ARP was kind enough to like kind of introduce me to the community as a whole, and then through Tess, we love Tess, her incredible International Podcast Month, I
Gosh.
just met a ton of people, and I went
Hmm.
really ham. Like anytime there was an audition or an opening, I was just like throwing my name in the hat, which is
Right.
actually how
Why
Dwayne and
not?
I met.
Awesome. Okay. Have you all ever actually met in person?
No, not yet.
I love that. Well, I love having friends like all across the world that we've never met. It's super fun.
Right? Guess we're
So,
planning con trip once it's safe.
yes. Oh my gosh, for real. Like big old meetup in the middle of like Antarctica or something, so it's travel for everybody. If not terrible. We'll go to Costa Rica. Way better.
I'm down. I'll translate for us.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. My Spanish is terrible. Awesome. So Kay White wanted to know where we can hear you being an octopus.
Oh, that was an. I have not gotten to be an octopus yet, but I will let you know as soon as I do.
Oh, do you have a voice prepared to be an octopus?
It depends. I like call reading, so I tend to like whatever visual they give me for the octopus, play off of that.
I'm not Googling octopus right now. Let's see. There's an octopus with a hat and it's got a spectacle, a monocle. What does that sound like?
Oh, the fancy octopus.
Yeah, that just came out of my head. I don't know if that exists.
No, I'd love it. A posh octopus. They're always
Yes.
so concerned. He's got 8 arms. They always try to force all these tasks on him, but he's methodical. He likes taking his time.
Oh my God, that's so good. That's so good. That's so good. So, yes, I love that. All right, there's the octopus, K White. That's all for you. Um, they super love this voice. So you may get roped into doing that again. So, Velvet, we know you here in the community. How does the Muggle world perceive you, though?
Oh, the Muggle world.
Hmm.
Uh, I've been going really ham as like my day career is mental health counseling. So I'm about halfway through my master's right now, and that's just kind of what I've been doing for the past couple of years between school and just working with different clinical populations.
Hmm. I'm really curious. Because like gaming, we have the ability to step out of ourselves and to be someone else. Have you actually had any opportunity to use gaming in your work?
Honestly, yeah, not as maybe pointedly as I would like to, but when I was working with kids, that was like a really huge help in bridging the gap.
Hmm.
Um, because oh gosh, these were like, I forget the grades, but they're all of gaming age. So I was suddenly the cool adult because I knew all the games. And
Uh-huh.
every now and then I would basically like bribe them. I think one time, to get someone to like do his homework, I was like, listen, like I have a cell phone with internet. If you do this thing you're supposed to do, I'll write down this and that cheat code for this and that game we're talking about on like the PS2. And it worked.
Oh, that's so fun. I love it. Bribing children. I fully support this.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. It was a story. No one can prove it. You don't have that kid's PS4. Have you tried any of the role play stuff with the kids?
I didn't get a chance to,
Uh-huh.
just because of everything else that needed to get done at the site, but that's definitely something that I would like to look into in the future.
Mhm. Mhm. Have you done any research around that? That might be interesting to us.
Not specifically with role-playing games because that's so niche, but I have in the past done a lot of looking into like, the basically video games, but that was more a general population thing. And like an interesting thing I found out about that was, depending on the type of game you played and who you played it with, that definitely like went a lot into changing the cognition of what you were doing.
Hmm.
Like people had a very
Interesting.
different mindset playing, a competitive shooter like Call of Duty than they did like a fantasy cooperative thing like WoW.
Interesting. Can you tell us about the differences in the mindset?
Sure.
Like
And this
super
was a while
interesting.
ago, so I don't super remember all the specs, but I think one thing was kind of, what's the word? Almost like that veil of disbelief. Like it's easier to separate, what you're
Hmm.
doing because obviously Call of Duty is so realistic, but then wow, you're very aware that you're in a fantasy realm.
Hmm.
And then it's a different mindset from you being very competitive and very aggressive because you're playing this violent single player game, whereas in WoW, even if you were doing raids and kind of engaging in competitive or violent actions, the focus was more on community because you were doing it in a group.
Oh, interesting. I would actually really love to see more research done on that. Hint, hint, maybe this is like a good master's thesis. Like how gaming and like specifically video gaming and even for us who like I play Dungeons and Dragons, I'm down to 2 times a week, but like picking up other games
Only
at
two.
least once a month. Only 2 times a week right now. Feel like I'm like trying to wean off of it. I was up to like 4 or 5 times a week when the pandemic was super bad. But like
Yeah,
I'd like to
I feel that.
see yeah, yeah. We were I'd like to see like how like that interaction and that building community kind of works and almost takes the place of like social interaction in the physical world because like a lot of us especially through the pandemic it became really apparent that like most of my nerd friends though they were having a hard time were still more okay than most of my friends who didn't game like be it video games like where you're talking on the headset or being RPG like we were more okay because we had each other and we were used to having each other that way, you know? I don't know if there's any research
Absolutely.
for that. Throwing it out
You
there.
I don't know if there is anything specific to kind of
Hmm.
conducting TTRPG stuff
Hmm.
over like a virtual medium, but definitely I know some people who actually work doing, kind of Dungeons and Dragons with younger kids and even teens, as kind of like a trauma treatment type of thing and just, using almost that, I can't English tonight, but all basically letting them work out some issues through their like little player character avatar.
Hmm.
But I have a couple of friends who do that. I don't know that there's any specific research done on that medium or having or doing that over like a virtual platform. But
Hmm.
definitely how you mentioned it, like, just the social aspect of it. Because even, a lot of my little cousins, that was how they socialized with the pandemic. They were, on Xbox Live with their friends
Mhm.
and it was back to that cooperative aspect. Even if they were playing like a competitive game, and like a violent one at that, the focus was just on the socializing, not just the kind of content of the game.
Mhm. Yeah, that's super interesting. And I feel like too, like not even Gen Z, but like the generation below that, I don't know if they have a name yet, but like they're growing up on that is their social platform. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm fascinated. I could go on about this for hours, but I'm not going to do
No, it is really
that.
fascinating. I
Yeah.
wish I had more info to share with you, but my area is mostly like substance use,
Hmm.
so not like developmental interaction stuff. But that being that, I always push it on to the people that I know who are in that area because I'm like,
Hmm.
I want to know. I'm not gonna do it. I'm hoping you do it and report back.
Right. Good. So this will inspire someone's masters. maybe
Right?
maybe not yours, but we'll outsource it. That's what we'll do, and we'll
Exactly.
we'll report back.
Outsource research.
Yes, I like it. I like it. Let's see. Okay. So what is one thing about you that you wish people knew?
Oh gosh.
I know.
That's hard because I have no shame, so most of my business is out there.
Me
Um,
either. I understand.
uh,
I love that.
I think just recently, just on a very practical level, I'm trying to get my work out there. As far as doing voiceover and like sensitivity readings and editing, that's something that I'm trying to get better at marketing.
Hmm. I like it. I like it. So, by the way, everyone, Velvet is available for voices. You heard the octopus. I mean, really. Hopefully we'll hit you up. We'll drop like socials in the you can drop socials in the comments in the YouTube, or we can drop socials in the description. Hint hint nudge nudge wink wink to my awesome behind the scenes tech person Andrew, and of course our overlord Mark. That's
Pay no attention to the wizards behind the curtain.
right. They make me look good. I could not do this all myself. So that's awesome. They make us both look good for sure.
Oh yeah.
Great.
Listen, brings me back to my stage life. I had very few marketable skills. All credit goes to the crew.
Right, right. We just stand up there and make them look good. Oh my goodness. So, yes. Oh, that's why that got me so confused. So, gaming, when did you start on gaming? You'd mentioned that you actually hadn't been in the Star Wars universe very long. What about the gaming universe?
I think that depends. Do you mean like tabletop role playing stuff or just like video
Mhm.
games in general?
Tabletop role playing.
Tabletop role playing, I'm fairly new to it. I think I've only been playing for about 4 years. I really
Hmm.
getting on Stories of a Broken Sun was really my first foray into it.
Uh-huh. So, tell us about Stories of Broken Sun. That's actually one that I've not listened to.
Oh, dope. So Stories of a Broken Sun is kind of Matt's or original brainchild, and
Mhm.
it's basically a dystopian future scenario. I don't want to spoil too much about it, but basically it's a dystopian setting, and it's just kind of exploring how people have adapted in that scenario, and then we have our characters who just go forth and wreck it.
I love that. How much of what you learned in school comes into that?
As far as like counseling stuff, or
Yeah, thinking about like how someone would adapt to the like dystopian post-apocalyptic worlds. Like
I'm
I'm
glad you
sure.
asked. I think I always like exploring kind of those more niche areas.
Hmm.
So I like playing characters who have, you know, very obvious either obsessions or maybe maladaptive coping mechanisms. Like I think
Okay.
specifically in Broken Sun, I really wanted to explore the theme of power. And it's
Hmm.
like, when you have someone who's downtrodden and then they get power, how are they gonna react, right? Like, are they gonna, rise above their beginning and be a hero? Or are they just gonna be like, sweet, now I can fucking friggin' dunk the people who were dunking on me? And so that's always an interesting thing to explore.
Hmm.
It's not for every table, so you have to gauge where you're at. Like these days I'm mostly playing a lot of the World of Darkness systems, so Vampire the Masquerade, Werewolf the Apocalypse, and Changeling the Dreaming, and
Mhm.
those can get pretty gnarly depending on what you're doing.
Mhm.
When I'm recommended for games in those settings, I've been told I come with a warning, which is fair.
Okay. All right, let's talk about this warning. Do you know what your warning
Uh,
is?
I've never been told what I know what the warning is, but I don't
Uh-huh.
know how it's being presented.
So what is the warning that comes in with you?
And in Vampire, there's something called Diablerie, which I like make jokes about every now and then, and it's basically like the main vampire taboo, which is where you eat like another vampire and consume their soul in the process, and so that
Uh-huh.
makes you more powerful, and you learn like skills that vampire has that you don't, but
Mhm.
kind of in setting, it's considered to be like the hey, stop, don't do that, and I'm
Stop
just like,
eating other
yeah, like I'm
players
gonna
at the
do it.
table. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's always, it's you negotiate beforehand, but I'm like,
Mhm.
listen, like we're monsters. I'm gonna do a monster thing. If you don't want to get monched, maybe get good.
I like that. You heard it here. Velvet said, "You don't want to get munched. Get good." That's what I think my new favorite slogan. I'm gonna put that on a t-shirt. Yeah, life slogan.
Nice
Andrew says
slogan.
life slogan. I love that. Sweet. So was is it Broken Sun? My brain likes to mash things together.
Yeah, so Stories of a Broken Sun is basically where I
Stories.
got my start, and we're
Mhm.
we're still ongoing, going strong. Um, a little more sparse the releases this time around, just because everybody is in school,
Mhm.
either working or studying, so that's gotten tough to manage. But I
What
definitely
kind?
recommend it. The
Uh-huh.
first couple of episodes are, as always, a little rough. I think for most of us, it was our first time doing that. So, like, definitely a lot of us getting our bearings. We
Uh-huh.
definitely fell into the trap of it taking me like 10 times to get over a wall. But we find our footing eventually.
I like that. I like that. It's if it's not, trying to schedule something, which is the number one nemesis of all tabletop games,
Yes.
it's doors and walls. Defeat
And
more
yeah.
players.
f- Architecture, for whatever reason. Like,
Right.
dragons, no problem. Architecture, mm.
Yep. Can't do it. Can't do it. So Mark says the first season of is it Stories of a Broken Sun? This is my
Yes.
um where you get to see all my short-term memory glitches. But Stories of a Broken Sun is pinned in the chat question mark in the behind the mask thread on the Nightcast Creative Discord channel for those of you who are not there yet. Why are you not? You could end up on this
Why
show. I'm
aren't you?
just saying. Right? We're talking all the time. It's fun. So,
Join the
Velvet,
subculture.
right? Join the subculture. Velvet, I'm super curious. How did you come about kind of Nightcast Creative, Mark, all of this craziness that is our Discord server?
It's just branches off a tree. I think I mentioned, through Broken Sun, I got
Mhm.
into IPM, and it was through IPM that I met Dwayne, and then it was later through Mark's guest spot in Flight Risk that I met Mark, and
Uh-huh.
got into the Nightcast.
And here you are in our subculture.
Oh,
It's
the
awesome. It's
sub level.
the sub level. It's been delightful to know you. I know Drunkle Grog's question is going to be, who is your favorite character in the Coruscant universe, and why is it Janet?
My favorite character is Carp, main character
Oh,
Carp.
that's fair. That's it. Carp is the main character. No lie about that. I love that. All right, let's actually get to some of the questions that. Wow. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. There are a lot of questions on your thread here, my friend. So AJ
Ooh,
would like to know, how in fact are you a flight risk?
I'm pretty mercenary. I'm not saying that I'm prone to ditching, but I like being on the winning team, and I'm not above a last minute transfer.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I love it so much. Let's see. Dee, 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 dee. If magic was a color, what color magic would you cast? That's really good.
Ooh, that is good.
I know.
I'm gonna go with purple, gold, black, and I hyphenate it so it is one
Uh-huh.
color.
Uh-huh. Tell me about purple, gold, black.
That's been pretty recent. I think I'm leaning towards that as my aesthetic, and I can never pick, so that's why I've just started hyphenating them together.
You're like, it's just gonna be like one of those. Do you remember those toys? Like you could get them at gas stations where like they were tubes and they would like slip through your hands. There was always like this
No.
water. Yeah, this is the places that I hang out. Very sketchy. Very, very sketchy. But there was this water inside of it that like would kind of swirl and would be very opalescency. So I'm imagining like this dark water with this opalescency purple and gold through it.
I've never heard of those before, so now you have to like link me. I also grew
I'm
up
gonna
in
have to
Colombia,
find
so that
some.
might be why. I know we didn't have those there.
No, I like they're a fidget toy. I didn't know they existed until I was in college. So like they still exist at local gas stations around me. Again, I hang out in sketchy places. Sketchy,
I
sketchy.
mean, it makes for good stories.
Uh, yeah, sure, sure.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right. What is a show that you can watch or listen to over and over again?
Probably What We Do in the Shadows. I think that's like one of my main comfort shows.
It's such a great comfort show. It's like the human side of vampirism.
Yeah.
I love that. So we have a new season that's dropped. I was gonna say, what's your favorite episode? But then I was like, ooh, spoilers. Spoilers. Okay. Very
Spoilers.
vaguely describe your favorite episode.
I think I'm gonna be very biased and say the episode that Joe and I were on, where we instigated a turf war.
Nice. I'm trying to remember that. I listened to that. This is again short-term memory. It likes to go.
Memory is not real.
What what is time? What is
It,
memory?
it
We
it's
are
not
all but a
real.
figment.
I right.
I love it. We're gonna go to a question from Mark. How much of anarchy is velvet, and how much of velvet is anarchy?
More than anyone should be comfortable with is probably the answer to both those questions.
Okay, okay, okay. Where's the overlap? Where is the place that you're okay telling us that the overlap is?
This is all entirely hypothetical, and I will tack on the allegedly at the end of it. I think it's just mostly the disruption aspect of it. I think I definitely led kind of that very escapist kind of lifestyle for a really long time. And so like when, things got very heavy, it was like, "Ooh, I don't know what I'm going to do. Let me just make this unreasonable disruption in some kind and I'm going to just dip."
Oh my gosh, we're digging into that. So tell me about this kind of escapist part of your personality that you're exploring through this character. It's an interesting thing to explore.
Yeah, and it's being mirrored a lot more than I like. So I have a history of not great substance use, and
Mm,
I got sober a couple of years ago, and it's a thing. And now anarchy is kind of hitting that arc where in order to be able to use her force powers with more efficacy, she is also now getting sober. And it
mm-hmm.
was very much the type of thing where it substances make for a chaotic scene in general, but because I was on them for so long, I just never had to develop like actual human adult communication and emotional regulation coping skills. So like I
Uh-huh.
would just find myself in these situations and I was like, well, distraction, and then I would just leave.
So like what anarchy does, you did in real life.
To allegedly, and without
Allegedly.
that collateral.
Right. Theoretically, this could have been a coping mechanism used in real life. So I'm interested why you chose to explore this with her on a podcast that people would be listening to, where like it's a very vulnerable thing to do. What led you to make that choice?
It wasn't even really a conscious choice until we got far into it. I was like, well, I think this would be an interesting character, especially as kind of a foil to, the other characters we have like on staff as it was. And it
Mhm.
wasn't until like I really got to know her that I figured out the direction she was going.
Mhm.
Because even in the first episode, it's a very campy, very like Harley Quinn-esque, just mayhem. And as we got further into it, I'm like, this character is too smart to just be engaging in mayhem for mayhem's sake. Like, there's got to
Mhm.
be a method to this madness. And that was kind of like, its own little journeys trying to figure out what the, method there was.
Mhm. That's interesting. I like that. Do you find it in any way like cathartic or therapeutic to kind of revisit that journey?
Definitely. And it's funny that you mentioned that because I
Mhm.
think that's just something all my characters have in common. Like, just, branding wise, I've kind of get typecasted and I volunteer myself to be casted as usually a villain or anti hero type. And the main
Mhm.
reason for that is because it lets me be selfish.
Mhm.
And, my civilian life, I have entirely too many responsibilities and entirely too many people that are like dependent on me having my act together in some capacity. So I just never get to be selfish except in these games.
This is really interesting. Okay. So it's like having that space to have me time, if it
Basically,
were.
and also just like,
Mhm.
yeah, and also just not the consequences. Like I mentioned,
Right.
having that background of substance use, like I definitely
Mhm.
left like hella collateral. So in this one, it's just that awareness of like I can be selfish and I can make this mess, but it's a mess that like people have consented to at the table at the session zero. Nobody is getting hurt because of it.
Mhm. Mhm. So I'm interested to know what that first off, I do want to like acknowledge congratulations on your sobriety. That is awesome. That is not
Thank
an
you.
easy
I
thing
hate
to
it.
do. Yeah, well, yeah. Way to sit. Oh, I almost cussed. Way to sit in the rest of the muck that is crap
Good catch.
with the rest of us. Yeah, that was not what I was gonna say, but it's hard. So like way to do the hard work. We're glad you're here with us.
Thank
Um,
you.
you're welcome. But like, so going into the session zero and like really doing that negotiation, um, how do you find that impacts play? Because I feel like a lot of people start playing but don't ever set boundaries with the people that they're playing with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's something that fortunately I have not made the faux pas or been the reason that like, somebody had a bad time, but I've seen it go down enough that I know that, and especially like I joke a lot about coming with that warning in that World of Darkness game, but especially just because I mean the World of Darkness is so much of it is just like, hey, here's my trauma, play with it, and it's really important to make sure that you have those baselines.
Mhm.
And speaking of negotiating in session zero, there's been a lot of games and a couple recently too where I've come into the situation with a character in mind, and as people are discussing their lines and veils and their safety issues, I've had to walk the character back and been like, okay, this one's going back in the toy box. We're gonna bring something with more rounded edges out next
Mhm.
time. And sometimes I've had to make that change in real life because as you can tell with anarchy, and hopefully this doesn't come across as too presumptuous, I like thinking outside the box. So sometimes
Mhm.
I come out with things that people maybe did not even consider, when they were laying down those safety groundworks. So it's also happened that like I've had to walk something back in in real time.
Mhm. Mhm. I like that. I've ended up in many a game without negotiation, but I'm in a horror game
Yeah.
right now where we did negotiate before we started, which is good because I'm a hard no on spiders.
Yeah. Right, yeah, stuff like that because, sometimes you don't think about it. Like there was one
Right.
uh game where like, we got to like describe scenes and I was like, "Oh, there's clowns there." And it wasn't until like after the session that somebody was like, "Hey, like I had, I'm very much not about the clown life." And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I did not know."
Right. Thought I was going into something harmless. So, yeah, that's great. Do you have any advice for anyone out there, like how to start these conversations with their gaming group, since you have had the opportunity to be a part of quite a bit?
Sure. There's a lot of resources out there. I mean, again, it depends where you're at. I think it's a much bigger thing in the TTRPG live streaming circles, more so than the actual play podcasts. Although I've been fortunate that all the ones I've been part of were big on incorporating safety mechanics. There's a lot of resources out there for it, but I think the bulk of it is just being willing to have that conversation of like, hey, we should have a conversation first about what we want to see, what we don't want to see. So, we're all conscientious of that. And let's head off a problem before there has to be one type thing.
Yeah. I like that so much. It's just like the thought and care everybody puts into the community before starting anything. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. I've got a question from Dwayne that I really want to ask. If you had
Oh,
to
sure.
cosplay, yeah, if you had to cosplay as one of your characters, which character would you choose?
Ooh. See, I mean, it's a hard choice because it's a very easy choice. Most of my characters tend to have the same general aesthetic, so it would
Uh,
really only be like a change of wig here and there. Um, I think I would go for Maeve from Stories of a Broken Sun. She was
okay.
my first brainchild, so there's a very
Hmm.
soft spot there for her.
I completely understand that. Nice. Nice. And what would Maeve wear?
Just a big, scary Victorian gown.
Oh, yes, I'm here for that 100%. Oh my gosh. Would it be purple, black, gold?
Maybe. Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I got this. I think I got this so much. All right. So, what is it like to hear to be playing Flight Risk and oh wait, no, I'm sorry, I'm reading this wrong. What is it like to hear Flight Risk with the guest voices in comparison to playing it live when Dwayne is doing the voices? Do you
It's
listen to yourself?
trippy in the
Uh-huh.
best way. I'll listen to bits just to hear.
Mm.
I'll listen to bits just to hear it. I'm one of those people where like I have such a hard time hearing myself back on recording, so very few times do I listen back to things I'm in.
Mhm.
But I definitely do listen to like other people's episodes, so I don't have to hear myself. And like I definitely love having the guest stars on, like especially because they're like most folks I know. So I feel like it's watching those old school big crossover episodes like in 90s Nickelodeon because you're just like, oh,
Mhm.
I know that character.
Like, why are they here? What's happening? How is Alex Mack over here? Ooh, ooh, I dated myself. Okay. All right. So yeah, no, I totally knew you were gonna ask that, Drunkle Grog. So would Velvet be friends with Skip Fortuna in real life?
Absolutely.
Oh, why?
Uh, I feel no. You know what? Let me be clear. It could either go really well or really poorly. I
Mm-hmm.
think Skip gives me the same issue that Zevran did in Dragon Age Origins, where they're just too similar to me at a certain point in life, and I'm not sure how like that would hit.
Right. You're like, I don't can teenage me and now me be friends.
Right? It's like I know where this storm is headed, and I don't know like if I want to break out the rain boots type of thing.
Yep, yep. I have a boss like that who's 10 years younger than me, and I'm like, you are me at that age, and you have got some life lessons.
Oh,
Right. Oh my gosh, I love it.
it's one of those things where you walk up to someone and you're like, "I'm so sorry," but also kind of you're welcome.
Right, right, right. It'll be okay. You can see, it'll be fine. Keep going, just headlong into it. Oh my gosh. Uh, so what is your favorite 90s movie?
90s movie. Oh gosh. I don't know. I feel like I mean, I was born in '96, so I feel like throughout like like the remnants of that I was watching more cartoons than watching movies.
Uh-huh. Let's go with cartoons. What is the first cartoon that you remember watching?
The first cartoon I remember watching, oh geez.
Mhm. I know I'm
I
hitting the hard ones.
So if we're going anime, I think Cardcaptor Sakura was probably the first one I remember seeing. And if we're going like more Western cartoon, probably like the '90s Spider-Man, which is still like my favorite Spider-Man cartoon ever.
I mean, because it was the best Spider-Man. It's
It
very
was
simple.
objectively the best.
Mhm. Cardcaptor Sakura. So I love the magical girl theme, and Dwayne and I got
Yes.
into that when I talked to him.
Yeah.
So like, let's roll this into 90s, which is like now you're working with Dwayne on the Tubular Teen Titans. Like, let's chat about that. Like, how, what?
How
Tell us.
the how the how is so random. I definitely credit Dwayne with being the catalyst because I one day he just started talking to me about the Power Rangers and obviously I watched them. Time Force, Wild Force, and Dino Thunder were huge pieces of my life growing up. And then I don't remember how we got working on making a Super Sentai hack for Blades in the Dark.
Okay.
And we pretty much finished it. And we were talking about getting people together for a playtest.
Hmm.
And then I think Dwayne had the idea of like, well, we'll do some scripting for it. Like maybe we'll make it like I don't know, some type of game or like add in kind of like that narrative element that Flight Risk has. And then at some point he was just like, well, what if we just made this a full blown production? And because I'm a habitual enabler, I was like, yeah, the full blown production, do it.
Oh my gosh. And thus Tubular Teen Titans was born. So what part of your voice can we see in that? Like what part of you do we see shining through and all of that other than you sitting in the background being like, "Do it, Dwayne. You should do that."
That's basically my main contribution. Just either throwing, whatever balls to the wall idea I didn't throw out there, I absolutely encouraged Dwayne to go through.
Hmm. Hmm. So, what can we expect? Which is it's dropping at midnight EST. Oh my gosh, I just lost numbers. 11 p.m. CST, or we're still on daylight time, so CDT. Uh, 10 MDT and 9 PDT. And I don't know what Greenwich time is. It's like probably 4 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the
Who
morning.
knows? I'm just enraptured by you being able to rattle those off because if it's numbers related, I'm no longer there.
Ah, yeah, no, that's my pattern thing is numbers. I can hold on to numbers.
Bless
So
you.
that's except for when I'm like time zones, what are words? So yeah, like what kind of ride are we in for? I know what kind of ride we're in for. My voice is
Do
on it,
you do?
but
Yeah.
yeah.
It's almost it's a very classic Super Sentai. It's a lot of just very over the top action combined with just like the perfect doses of like teenage angst. Uh not like the Riverdale level of you not understanding the highs and lows of high school football, but very similar.
I love that. I love that you mentioned Riverdale. Riverdale is a guilty pleasure of mine, and then they did a D&D season, and I was like,
Did
man,
they?
I'm in love. They did season 3.
I I know I'm only adjacently aware of Riverdale because a
Mhm.
lot of my homegirls like Riverdale, and they will just like, I don't know, I absorb some of it through osmosis, or they'll direct me to specific clips, and I'm like, okay, I have no context, but I'm happy to enable you.
Velvet, I'm gonna need you to watch Riverdale, and I'm gonna need you to report back to me. The first
Okay.
season is kind of like meh. The second season is like, okay, there's something here, and I'm watching this, and I don't know why I'm watching this. And then the third season, you're like, all right, all bets are off. This is why I like this
I,
show.
I'm in. Okay, great.
Yes, it's so good. It's so good. So yeah, Tubular Teen Titans. Who's your favorite character on Tubular Teen Titans, and what can you tell us about them without spoiling anything? Although
Gosh.
teasers.
There's a lot of cool characters. I don't know. They're like half my children. I don't know if I could pick a favorite.
Oh, I love that.
Uh yeah, I would say the monsters. I think brainstorming the monsters with Dwayne was one of my favorite parts.
Mhm. We're up through, so in the voice actor channels, we're up through script 5. I am super curious, how many more monsters are there?
Many.
Oh, yes. This will keep running. Have you heard the whole episode yet?
Have I heard the whole? No, I wanna participate in the big premiere. So
Okay.
I'm waiting
Okay, this
until
is
like we
awesome.
drop officially.
Right, which is gonna be in like an hour and 9 minutes. So
Yes.
wherever in the world you're at, you can totally calculate an hour and 9 minutes from now. I believe in you. So it's gonna
We're in
drop.
the we're in the digital age.
We are in the
Use the
digital age.
iPhone alarm.
Right. Yes. No, just go on and like Google what time zone it is and whatever. That's how I got started.
I've been
Minus
doing this.
whatever lag YouTube has.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh.
I've been doing this stuff for years, and I still have
Mhm.
to like Google CST to EST.
Yes. It wasn't until I started working with people in the different time zones that I was having meetings with them every day that I was like, all right, I got to figure out an easy way to do it. We just work back EST, CST, MST, PST.
Which is brilliant, and I never thought to do that until recently. That like somebody also in a message like put them next to each other, and I'm like, oh, that makes so much more sense than me having to like try to grasp one from the ether every time I have to try to figure it out.
Right. Yeah, no. And I constantly, like, in order to get one, I have to go through all of them.
Yeah,
So,
it's like the ABCs. Like you sing the whole song.
right. Right. Anyone who says they don't is lying.
Liars.
So, sweet. How many seasons is Tubular Teen Titans going to run for?
Until we run out of steam. I think that's Dwayne's and I'm
Never.
mottos. Yeah, yeah. I mean, as long as we can keep going, we'll keep going.
I like it. Andrew says forever. And very selfishly, have you seen Sailor Moon?
Of course,
Awesome. Who's your favorite Sailor Scout?
Sailor Mars.
Sailor Mars. Interesting. I feel like I know so much about you now.
Right. Everybody knows a little too much about me after this.
That's the whole goal of this, right?
Yeah,
Ah,
behind the mask, behind the
I
tuxedo
love it.
mask.
Ooh, yes, behind, yes. Oh my
Tuxedo
gosh.
mask is my role model. I want to be equal parts stashing and useless.
Oh my gosh. On the background, you can do it, Sailor Moon. I believe in you. And Sailor Moon's like, all right, stand back. I got this. No,
Basically.
no, Tuxedo Mask, you're dying over here again. Like, how about you just stay home? Stay home with the kid. Like, you be the stay-at-home parent. I love that. That's my
See,
favorite
I
thing that I've
relate
ever
because
heard.
I have no marketable skills outside the ivory tower, so I could give you like a really great pep talk, but when it comes to like doing things, I'm just like, I guess I'll just die.
Oh, so like what you're saying is if the zombie apocalypse happens, I'm coming to get you and you'll just come stay at my place, and then you'll encourage all of us and enable all of us, and we'll go kill all the zombies.
I like to think I'm like the advisor voice in the grand strategy games. I'm just in the corner going like, "Hey, there's guys over there."
You should probably kill the zombies that are coming up on us now.
Yeah.
It's all right. That's why we need you. We're knee deep in zombies, and we need to know that they're coming up against us right now. I love that. All right, let's see if we can grab one more question. Ooh, I like this one. This is another Mark one because, Mark is so good at this. If you could produce your own actual play, what would the setting be? And what RPG system would you use?
Ooh, that's a great question. And there's so many choices, I think, depending on whether I wanted to go more campy or scarier. I think I would love to I think I would love to do something in the world of darkness. I haven't figured out which system yet. Maybe something with Changeling, which are like that's the fairy setting.
Hmm. It's the fairy setting that kind of is like Vampire the Masquerade. I know just enough about Vampire the Masquerade to be like, oh yeah, Vampire the Masquerade. I haven't played in that system, but like, is it the same kind of system?
Yeah, it's I mean mechanically it's different now because now Vampire is up to V5 and Changeling is still stuck over in V20. The World of Darkness, if you see this, I love you, but do Changeling, not Hunter. I don't want to play
Right.
humans. That's why I play your stuff.
Right. Nobody wants to play humans except for me for some unknown reason, but nobody wants to play
There's
humans.
always one.
Yep. Yep. But just one, not an entire, not an entire system. I like it. So, okay, what would the story be?
It would probably be super mythology heavy.
Hmm.
I wouldn't know which direction to take it because I think Changeling by its nature and by Changeling nature is so capricious that
Hmm.
people could easily derail it or go whichever direction they want it, which would still be great. Oh, in fact, I'm in a Changeling game right now, Deep Magic, and I feel so bad because I've become such a problem for the storyteller because I just went so ham in making my character physically indestructible that it is a burden to deal with because I could
Hmm.
probably fight most people, even like top tier characters. So it's like tough putting me in a compromising situation.
Velvet, are you a min-maxer?
I try not to be. I think I'm I min max like narratively and then it manifests mechanically. So for
Hmm.
this character, I made her just big strong punchy girl because I was playing like charismatic and brainy characters in other places and I'm like, all right, let me mix it up. And just gave her like all the combat stuff because I'm like, she's not a nerd. She wouldn't want to be doing the nerd stuff. And then it's just like, oh no, I'm like maxed out,
She's obviously a fighter, so she needs all of the good accessories with the plus
basically.
two. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's fun. There's always, you're just that one in the game because there's always that one. The DM is like, that's fine. Now you're fighting a giant ancient dragon.
I take pride in being the problem child. And I mean, listen, we established the giant ancient dragon is not a problem. The ancient giant fortress wall would be the problem.
Right, right. Actually, it's probably like the 3-foot wall that is always the problem, or the wooden door with two hit
The
points that you're
wooden
like,
door.
yep. That is locked. All right, so we are at the end of the show. Unfortunately, it's been an absolute delight to talk to you, Velvet. Where can we find you on the interwebs? And can you even name off all the amazing podcasts you've been in? Because I feel like there's going to be a lot. You can do this.
Fortunately, log running ones, it's a few. Otherwise, it's just scattered appearances, which good luck finding because I don't know that I remember all of them.
Hmm.
But you can basically find me everywhere on the internet at OG Brown Sugar. Mainly the Bird app. I was streaming pretty strong for a while there before just the civilian life got in the way. But if you follow me on the Bird app, you can keep up on pretty much everything. As far as podcasts go, you can find me, you know, on stage, as it were, on Stories of a Broken Sun and Flight Risk, and you get a little bit of my madness poking through in Tubular Teens with Titans. And beyond that, currently, if you are the type to watch live streams, you can find me Friday evenings on Archives of the Dragon for Deep Magic, which is the Changeling game. Saturday evenings on the Bard's Playhouse for Fall of London, which is a vampire game. And Sunday afternoons on the Bear Pen for Werewolf. Yeah.
Nice. Do you have your own Twitch channel where you stream all the stuff that you're on, like where it shares all the stuff that you're on?
So I do have my own Twitch. That one is also at OG Brown Sugar, but that's
Uh-huh.
mostly for video games.
Okay.
I'm usually on, as far as the streams go, I'm on who's ever is hosting the channel.
Okay.
Those words made sense in my head. They did not when they came out, but I think
They
y'all
made
know what I
sense
mean.
to me. So that's good. Some kind of translation happened that it worked. So I like it. I
Bless
like
you,
it.
drunk old grog, for that what we do in the shadows reference. I
Yes.
promise I am not a swearwolf.
Yes. I love it. I am definitely the swearwolf. So, Velvet, thank you so much. And we're going to smile real big and hold until Andrew, who we appreciate, takes us out. Bye, y'all.